Okay, so I have a confession, and
Mhm.
I honestly have a feeling I'm not the only one here, but it still feels a little, shameful to say out loud.
Uh,
It was 2:81 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was supposed to be working, finalizing this spreadsheet, and instead, I see this headline, The Neuroscience of Flow States.
oh, a classic.
Right, so I didn't read it, of course not. I hit that little ribbon icon, saved it to my read later list.
Of course.
And then, maybe 10 minutes later, my heart is literally pounding from deadline anxiety, like real physical stress. I open up Instagram and post a Marcus Aurelius quote.
About tranquility, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
The inner citadel.
You got it. And the thing is, I didn't feel calm. I felt fraudulent, like a total liar. But I
Right.
did it anyway, and I never, ever read the neuroscience article.
It's still on the list.
It's still there. So that's what we're getting into today. Why do we do this? Why do we share things we haven't even read? Why do we build this digital self that's so much smarter and calmer than the person who's, actually holding the phone?
That is the central mystery, isn't it? And if we really look at this, the answer isn't just hypocrisy or, we're lazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a lot darker.
Oh, great.
I mean, if you look at it through a psychoanalytic lens,
Mhm.
what you did at 2:17 p.m. wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a productivity fail. It was a symptom.
A symptom. Okay, now I feel like I'm on a couch. I thought we were just talking about bad internet habits.
We're all on the couch. That's the whole point. Think of me as the analyst for a bit. The core idea here is that the act of publishing, of hitting post, has totally detached from the act of understanding.
Right.
We used to share things because we read them, processed them, and thought, wow, this is important. Now we share them to fight off the anxiety of not knowing them.
Whoa, hang on. Slow down. So you're saying I didn't post the Stoic quote because I understood it on some deep level?
Not at all.
I posted it because I was terrified I didn't have it.
Precisely. It's what you might call a prophylactic gesture. You're trying to inoculate yourself against the fear of being seen as unfinished or insufficient.
Yep.
By posting the quote, you're signaling to everyone and to yourself, I'm the kind of person who gets tranquility. And you do it in the exact moment you feel like a complete chaotic mess.
It's a little too close to home. It's like wearing a team's jersey just so people think you're athletic. But let's rewind to the save for later button, because my list is, well, it's a disaster.
I think we can all relate to that.
And I keep telling myself, oh, I'm just curating a library. I'll get to it this weekend.
The sources we looked at have a much darker name for that list. They called it the digital cemetery.
Ouch. A cemetery. That feels a bit much for a few bookmarks.
Does it? I mean, think about what's in there. It's not just a list of links, is it? It's a museum of the person you intended to be.
Oh, 100%. I'm looking at mine now. 10 ways to compost at home, a deep dive into supply chain logistics,
Right.
and a tutorial on how to code in Python.
And let me guess, you have a compost bin. You know how to code.
I live in a 4th floor apartment. I can't even keep a plant alive. And no, I definitely cannot code.
See, the list isn't a to-do list. It's a fantasy. It's a place where good intentions are laid to rest. But here's the really wild part, the biological part.
Okay.
Your brain is scamming you. When you hit save on that flow states article, your brain gives you a little hit of dopamine.
The reward chemical. So I get a treat for just clicking a button.
Exactly. And the trick is, that little dopamine hit is almost indistinguishable from the feeling you'd get if you actually read the article.
No way.
Your brain is lazy, it's economical, it accepts the symbol, the save as payment in full. You perform the intention, why bother with the actual work?
So I basically cashed the check without doing the job. I tricked myself.
You did. And then you add the social layer on top, the prophylactic post. You buy the book, you take a nice picture of it with a coffee cup, but you don't read it.
A classic.
That post is a shield against social irrelevance. In a world where your value is tied to constant growth, being caught without an opinion is, it's dangerous. The post says, I'm engaging with these ideas even when the cover is still sealed.
It's like I'm the set designer for my own intellect, not the actor.
And that's a perfect way to put it, because it gets us to the why. If Sigmund Freud were alive today, he wouldn't look at your Instagram feed and see content. He'd see what he called a compromise formation.
Compromise formation. Okay, that sounds like something from a corporate negotiation. What is that in plain English?
It sounds dry, but it's really dramatic. Think of it like a treaty between two warring countries inside your own head.
Okay.
You have two powerful drives that want the exact opposite thing. And a compromise formation is a weird behavior. A nervous attic, a dream, a social media post that tries to keep both of them happy. but it usually fails.
So who are the warring countries in this case?
Your id and your superego. Your id, that's the primal part. It's the toddler brain. All it wants is to rest, to do absolutely nothing, to just be.
My id is in charge on Saturdays. It wants chips and naps.
Right, but then you have the superego. That's the internal critic. And today we have what the sources call the superego of late capitalism.
That sounds ominous. What does that voice say?
Oh, doesn't shout, it whispers. It whispers that your value is directly proportional to your visible growth. It says, thou shalt not remain as thou art. It demands optimization.
I know that voice. Why are you relaxing when you could be monetizing a hobby?
That's the one. So the id wants to rot on the couch. The superego wants you to read War and Peace while launching a startup. A clear conflict.
If I just lie on the couch, I feel guilty. If I try to read War and Peace, it's hard work and I get bored.
So it's the truce. The Instagram post, the unread book post, satisfies both sides. It performs growth, which shuts the superego up. Look, I'm optimizing, I'm a scholar.
Well, I'm doing the thing.
But because you didn't actually read it, you avoided the labor. You honored the desire to just chill. It's brilliant in a very twisted way.
It's the path of least resistance disguised as the path of most resistance.
In this new superego, it's so sneaky, it doesn't use a scary voice anymore. It uses the calm, soothing font from a meditation app. It says things like, join the journey. But the demand is the same. Produce, perform, don't just be.
It makes me see my whole feed differently now. It's not a diary of my life, it's a journal of my anxieties.
That's exactly it. Freud would see it as a dream journal. And a huge part of that is projection.
Like when I'm angry, so I accuse you of being angry.
Sort of, but here it's about objects.
Right.
We pick these little fragments, a Seneca quote, a science factoid, not because of their logic, but for their projective potential. We're projecting a version of ourselves that we want to be onto that object.
So the quote becomes a costume for the calm, stoic me.
Or a mirror. You hold it up and say, see? That's me. And the scary part is, the more you do it, the more you can start to believe the reflection is real.
The sources called it a psychic prosthesis. That phrase really stuck with me.
It's a powerful image. Your profile becomes this artificial limb that supports a self that can't stand on its own yet. You lean on these posts because the actual internal wisdom isn't there.
Which is probably why I get so nervous about comments, or why I'd rather just broadcast than actually talk to someone.
That's the fear of dialogue. Dialogue demands that you've integrated the knowledge. If I ask you, hey, great Stoic quote, how are you applying that to your life right now?
Then I'm exposed, I'm caught.
You have to have actually done the reading. But broadcasting, just posting the picture, that only allows for projection. Nobody can kick the crutch out from under you.
It's all about energy, isn't it? We have this life force, this drive to connect, but it's getting sent down the wrong pipe.
Hijacked libido, that's the term. And libido here isn't just about sex, it's your life force, your drive to create, to understand. So imagine that energy hits a fork in the road.
Okay, what are the two paths?
Path A is reading a difficult book. It's slow, it's hard, it takes weeks, it actually changes you. Path B is posting a quote from that book for 200 likes.
And Path B takes 5 seconds. And let's be real, Path B feels really good. Those little hearts popping up are a rush.
But is it connection? Or is it just discharge? The like feels like connection, but it's empty calories. So the psyche, which has been trained by the algorithm, always chooses Path B. It's a detour from depth to display.
That explains that specific kind of exhaustion. You know, you're online all day, you're engaging, but by 6 p.m. you feel completely drained. Not a good tired, just depleted.
You've been running a marathon on a treadmill. All that energy has been rerouted into hollow channels. You've performed becoming all day, but you haven't moved an inch.
And this gets us to narcissism, right? But it's not just vanity. The sources called it narcissism 2.0.
Right. It connects to Lacan's idea of the mirror stage. The idea that we only know who we are by seeing ourselves reflected. Social media is just that, but on an industrial scale. We suffer from ontological dependency.
Okay, ontological dependency. That sounds a little dramatic. I mean, I know I exist, whether I post or not. I'm sitting right here.
Are you, though? I mean, you're experiencing yourself biologically, sure. But to feel real in a social sense, to feel like you have value, you need a witness. A few centuries ago, that witness was your village, or maybe God.
And now the witness is the algorithm.
The village is the algorithm. We've reached a point where, for many of us, if the feed doesn't validate our existence, we start to doubt it. If you read a book and no one likes your post about it, did the smart you even happen?
So the unread book post is just a way to feed the mirror. To ping the system and say, I'm still here, I'm real.
I post, therefore I am. And it's exhausting. It's a trap. And eventually that exhaustion turns into something else. You stop posting to connect, and you start posting just to keep going.
Just going through the motion.
Exactly. And Freud had a term for that urge to just repeat the same empty loop, to return to a state of zero effort. He called it thanatos, the death drive.
The death drive. That sounds intense. It's not about wanting to actually die, is it?
No, not literally. In this context, thanatos is the compulsion to repeat, the urge to return to inertia. It's the part of you that wants to stop struggling and just loop.
The loop. I save, I don't read, I feel bad, so I save something else.
And there's a weird kind of safety in that loop. It's a quiet surrender to inertia disguised as progress. Because if you actually read the book, things might have to change. You might have to change. But if you just keep saving and posting, you get to stay exactly where you are while feeling like you're moving forward.
And the algorithm loves that. It wants me in the loop.
The algorithm is the great enabler. It rewards the consistency of your signal far more than the depth of your engagement. It doesn't care if you learned anything. It just cares that you posted. It rewards the performance of becoming, not the reality of being.
It's like my digital ghost is more successful than I am.
And that's the uncanny valley of the self. You know that feeling when a robot looks almost human, but not quite, and it just gives you the creeps?
Yes, the dead eyes.
Now apply that to your own feed. Ever scroll back a year and feel that weird disconnect? Like, who is that person? It looks like you, it sounds like you.
But it's hollow. It's too polished.
That's the uncanny valley of your identity. Your profile is almost you, but it's the optimized, curated version. And the horror is when that digital supplement starts to feel more real than the messy, unshareable human behind it.
So we're basically haunting our own lives.
And that haunting serves a purpose. This is where it all gets flipped on its head. We've been talking about this as a failure, a lie. But what if the unread book post is actually a successful defense mechanism?
A defense against what? Feeling dumb.
Against the truth. What if we don't read the books because reading them would force us to change and deep down we're not ready?
Oh, that's heavy. So real reading is dangerous.
Real reading is absolutely dangerous. If you really engage with that book on climate change or justice or psychology, you might have to dismantle your entire life. You might have to quit your job. You might realize you've been wrong about everything for a decade.
So the post protects us from the terrifying freedom of authenticity.
It's a buffer. It lets you try on the costume of the person who has changed without going through the actual pain of transformation. You get the new identity without the sacrifice.
That actually makes me feel a little more compassionate toward my digital cemetery. It's not just laziness, it's fear.
It is fear. But let's pivot, because I don't want to leave everyone in total despair. There's also a more poetic defense of the unread book. It can be seen as an archive of intentions, a landscape of desire.
A landscape of desire. I like that a lot better than graveyard.
There's an idea that desire needs absence to survive. If you consumed everything, knew everything, the engine of aspiration might just stall. The unread book hums with the energy of not yet.
The potential energy. As long as it's unread, I can still imagine that reading it will fix me.
Precisely. The post becomes a prayer to the algorithmic god, a hope that if you just perform the ritual, the transformation will happen by magic, by osmosis.
Like putting the book under your pillow to absorb the knowledge, but instead it's on my grid.
And that leaves us with the final confrontation. Because at some point, the screen goes dark.
So what does that mean for us? For anyone listening right now who probably has 5 unread tabs open?
I think the challenge is to just sit with the silence for a minute. The sources ask, what would it feel like to let the unread book stay unread and not turn it into content?
To just let it be a book, an object.
And what terror is hiding in that silence? If you didn't post it, would you feel like you were falling behind? Would you feel invisible?
It forces you to ask a really tough question. What part of my life would actually collapse if I absorbed the wisdom I perform?
That's the one. If you actually became that stoic you post about, could you keep your high-stress job? If you really embraced the minimalism you pin, would you have to stop shopping?
So, the unread book is about loyalty.
Yes, loyalty to a life that wouldn't survive your own transformation. We keep the books on the shelf, unread, because we want to keep our lives the way they are, even as we pretend we're on the verge of becoming something new.
That is a massive thought to end on. The cost of the defense is we get to keep our life, but maybe we lose the self that could have really lived it.
It's a high price for a few likes.
Yeah.
But it's the one we're paying every single day.
It really is. Well, I'm going to go stare at my bookshelf now and feel very seen and slightly attacked in a good way. Thanks for this.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Maybe don't post a quote from this unless you've actually listened to the whole thing.
No promises. That's it for this deep dive. Take care of your eye, everyone.
And watch out for that super ego.
See you next time.